on the ship. It's been 2 years since the fall of the mothership and the end of the invasion.
We survived, found each other.
You're worried about something. Just talk to me. I need to know what's going on. I need to know if it's happening again.
Whatever happened before, it's just the beginning.
We've been assembling an elite team of soldiers to cross through the dead zone. You're coming with us. You know more about the aliens than anybody.
There's a reason we keep surviving. We was meant to finish this together.
Victory requires sacrifice.
You can communicate with them. You're a part of something so much bigger.
What I saw is new, more powerful, and they're not done.
There's a worldwide war out there.
We promise to keep trying for each other.
All this time, all I wanted to do was destroy them. Maybe humanity's time is over. Maybe it's their turn. The world keeps spinning.
So welcome back to the SWAU's official channel. I'm Bryan, your host, and this is a conversation with the Stars series. And what a star we've got. He is starring in Apple TV Season 3 of Invasion. It's Stephen Tracey. Stephen, welcome to the show, sir.
Thank you for having me. What an intro. I feel like I'm blushing.
Do you know what? You have been in many, many shows that I love, and we've got some connections, especially with The Expanse, because I've had the joy of having Sama Salim and Vanessa Smythe on the show as well, because I'm a diehard Expanse fan. So it's great to have you on the show. But we're not talking about that sci-fi series. We're talking about another one, which is, incredible. It really is. I mean, season 2 ended with such a cliffhanger, and now we go into season 3. So what first excited you about joining Invasion and stepping into the role of Sergeant Reese?
I mean, first of all, it was really lovely to have a paycheck. But secondly, the show itself is like Apple TV Plus does such a phenomenal job with the way that they tell the stories that they choose to tell. They're like, I think they have some of the highest quality content out there, and they've really proven themselves. It's like they've really built up really incredible shows. And I think Invasion in particular has such beautiful world building and photography of it that like the scope of how the show covers this situation is so magical and profound, because you're looking at an alien invasion from like a global perspective, and they actually shot globally. Like the first season they shot in Japan, they shot in Morocco, the UK, and then season 2 they shot in South Africa, and now they're in Canada. So they actually are looking at it visually from a global perspective, but then also in terms of the content. And it was just amazing to like step into that world, even for the amount of time that I did.
I mean, I've got to say, Apple TV, I would say sophisticated is the word, because all their shows are just, as you said, well written, and I just think that they produce amazing things. So season 3 is being billed as the most intense season yet. What can you tease about where we'll see Reese when we meet him? I mean, the show is already started, so people have already seen quite a few episodes, but what can you tease around Reese and how we're going to be introduced to him?
Let me do this artfully. This was mainly about the reactions and the questioning of what's going on as there was a subtlety towards the invasion, which like built up to, oh, something's here and it's happening. Season 2 was like a war between humanity and this foreign species, which culminated in what they thought to be a defeat. And we learn in season 3 that the aliens didn't retreat or they weren't defeated, that they are currently regrouping to be bigger and present a new apex alien. Along with that, our series leads, who have a very diverse set of skills that can possibly help the world in assisting with this critical mission. I am part of a special forces unit that has been hired to bring these people on this critical mission. And I would say that Reese is probably one of the newer members of the unit. He has a slight greenness to him, but he's there to fight for his troop and fight for the world.
I mean, when you take on a character like this, I mean, how hard is it not to let a bit of Stephen, you know, sort of blend in with Reese, or was it quite easy to separate them both?
Oh, I mean, I think everything that you do has a part of you in it as an actor. Like, you can only go from your version of yourself if you were set in those circumstances. And I think that's actually the beauty of getting to be an actor. And I actually think that's why I wanted to become one. I know a lot of people are maybe a little bit more wanting to change the world with the stories that they tell. I wanted to change my own world. I was a really, really shy kid growing up, and I somehow fell into a play, and I just remember being put into a set of circumstances that allowed me to showcase who I was if I was given the permission to do these things. And then I went, what else can I push myself to do? Like as a person born in a Western country, did I ever think that I would want to join the military? No, and I still don't, but I get to see who I would be if I was in the military through projects like this. And like Apple TV Plus works really hard to make sure that things are authentic, and the world that they create is mainly done through practical effects. And part of that world building was putting us through weapons training, putting us through working with veterans, military professionals, our armorists, and like learning how to properly use these guns, because we were shooting blanks on set and we had to change mags and guns jam all the time. And they wanted us to be proficient with them because all of those like subtle details on how you hold it start to come through, but you're still the person doing it. Like it's still Stephen at the core, reacting. And then you get to choose like the subtleties in, oh, this giant crazy thing is happening and I'm fighting for my life. Am I the type of person who pushes it down? Am I the type of person that allows it to come out for a minute and then goes through it? Like these are the nuances that you get to play with, because like ultimately we are currently going into something that no one in this world has experienced before. So you are not, you may be trained yet. Exactly. Yet you are trained. You're trained in what you think you know, and then all of a sudden a curveball is thrown at you, and so you also have to let the audience know that as well. So there's like all of these beautiful subtleties that you get to throw in, and I think like because my character was a little bit more on the newer side of things, I had a little bit more liberty to play with how I received them.
I mean, training to be a soldier, especially when you're not a soldier, I can only imagine it's quite difficult. Did you find any parts of that a bit more difficult than others? Because, you know, being an actor, you can be a doctor, a nurse, you know, a soldier, an astronaut. So what part of that soldier training did you think, oh, I'm not very good at this?
You know, I really thought that it was going to be an uphill battle with the guns. It's just something that I was unfamiliar with, but like our armorists were such good educators that it became so smooth and so proficient and such like second nature. The thing that was actually the hardest was when you're shooting with blanks, which nothing comes out, but the noise comes out and you see a little bit of a fire. you have to wear safety gear, which is earphones. And when you're acting with another person whose ears are plugged and your ears are plugged, but you're not at the moment that you need to use your guns, you are listening to, you're reading lips. So you like, the biggest challenge was like looking at your scene partner and waiting for your cues based off of what you think their mouth is saying, because you can't actually hear what they're saying. And I think that was the hardest challenge, because nobody prepares you for that until you're in the moment on set, being like, we're going live on the ammo on this one. You put your ears and they're like, oh, I can't hear anything now. And it's just, your senses have to be a little bit more heightened. But once you're inside of all of the action, because most of it was practical, you don't have to do make-believe. You're living inside of it. You're just reacting to all the things around you, which heightens the experience. And I think like as an audience member, you get to see that, you see those subtle details, and you might not pick up on them. You may not be able to distinguish that from other projects, but you do feel it. And I think that's what distinguishes Apple TV Plus shows from others, is their attention to detail and like their ability to create the environment for the actor to actually just live inside of, instead of like green screen, pretend, look at this, whatever. Like it's for the most part all there. And there's obviously aspects of CGI because we are dealing with creatures that don't exist, that we assume, and maybe Apple TV Plus knows something that we don't know. But the majority of the effects and the stunts are done practically on the day, and you're watching someone fly through the air.
I mean, what was it like being on set? Because I can only imagine Apple TV budget is beyond anyone's comprehension. So what was it like, stepping foot on set? Is it as impressive as we see on screen?
Yes. It was the ultimate dream as an actor, is just stepping into, like when you're a kid, you run around playing like cops and robbers or whatnot, and then all of a sudden you're doing that. You're firing guns that have no repercussion, but you feel it. It's happening. They're allowing you to do it. There's like, you're looking at an environment where you don't really even see the cameras because they're so far away from you. So you really feel like you're just in this giant playground. I mean, I think one of the best examples was in the trailer. There's I don't think I'm giving anything away because it's in there, but there's a part with a giant hole in a wall, and I remember having a line that was like, look, there's a hole in the wall. And when you read those types of things, I went to theater school and I'm trained in theater, and you think about the imagery that you have to create to, you have to have an image in your mind's eye. If you don't have something there, people most likely don't feel anything from you. And so I started creating a visual in preparation for the day, and then I get to set and I look, and there's a 20-foot concrete wall with a hole in it. And they built it. It's practical. Most other shows would have had that as a special effect that they would have added in post, because it might not have been as important. But once again, those are the details that just really, really build the world. And all of a sudden, you're not acting anymore because you're staring up at this thing. You're looking directly at what you're talking about. And so it just gets embedded in your body, and it just makes all of the performances more nuanced and shared, because we're all looking at the same thing. We're all connected to the same thing. And I
mean, with this show, there's so many great scenes, so many great performers. For you, without spoiling anything, is there a certain episode that we should be looking out for that you would consider, your shining moment, the moment that you're so pleased with from a performer's aspect on this show?
I think we didn't shoot in order. We shot out of order, so it's like hard to think of a specific moment. But I like the wank key thing that I can say is because it really felt like summer camp. Shooting with everybody, like you have the people that you're with, and you're all fighting for each other's lives, and it just like creates this beautiful energy. So I think some of the stuff that I think I'm more excited to see some of the effects and practical moments that I got to witness or be a part of, more so than like individual performance based, because we the weird thing about acting is you are always ahead of the work that gets released. We wrapped that show in August of last year, and like as a performer, I've had so many different other experiences since then that the way that I would probably approach those things now are not at all how I did it then. And so in a way there's like kind of like that anticipation of like, ooh, what's gonna happen, on a personal note. But in terms of like the scope of the show, there's so many fantastic things. I remember on my very first day, one of the writer producers came up to me and was like, boy, we got a lot in store for you guys. And like they 100% did. So there's too many things to count to say.
And the one thing I always ask all my guests is what did you steal from set? Did you steal anything? Did you borrow anything? Did you put anything in any bags?
No, like, no. The costume department had boatloads of clothes. So, and because we're soldiers, we don't have to wear civilian clothes. I just remember going over and being like, "Hey, what are you guys doing with these?" And just like had a little shop. That was the main thing. That was the main thing. But if like, I think if anything, the group of people who I got to connect with are probably the biggest takeaways. They're still in my life on a consistent basis. Those are some lifelong relationships, and you don't always get that with a show, especially when people are coming from across the world. It is such an international cast, and we really got to come together. And I think there was like something about the fact that the majority of people were from another place, which made it feel more as we were shooting it, because we didn't have outside community. It was the first time I shot in British Columbia, and the being an outsider in a new spot, working on a collective thing, just allows you more opportunities to bond and to connect. And those are some of the greatest people I've ever met.
I mean, this show is quite intense, like probably 99% of the time. So what was it like, behind the camera when you weren't shooting? Was it everyone having a good laugh, or was it still quite sort of sharp? And I mean, any funny stories that you can share that, the cast got up to? Obviously nothing incriminating, just,
No.
fun stories.
No, I think the biggest thing was, I'm going to mess this up, and maybe this is not even worth telling, but Shane Zaza, who plays Nikhil, he, for some reason, production thought his birthday was the 1st of August, but his real birthday is the 8th of January. And so they kept trying to plan something for his birthday. and then we heard, we caught wind of it, and then like obviously nothing happened because they realized what his real birthday was. And so we planned a surprise party for him in between shooting, and it was one of those things where we decided we would all sing happy birthday and just watch him try to figure out whose birthday it was as it was happening. And so we all just started singing, and like being the good old sport that he is, he immediately joins in and starts looking around the room to try to figure out whose birthday it was. And like I think we brought in like a cake and things and a card that everybody signed. And then as it came to the name part, we said his name, and he just he went beet red, and it was so funny. But there's like a lot of good energy, and I think because you're working on such heavy material, and and a lot of what's going on happens not only like physically with the excitement of the season, but internally there's a lot of internal struggles. The writers did a phenomenal job of having external and internal obstacles for everybody, that you really did need the levity in between. Because I think otherwise I think it would have been really hard. The show shot for 7 months. 7 months of just like would be difficult for anybody.
Wow, and you mentioned earlier on the fact of the special effects, and you can't wait to see those. And I mentioned before we started to record that, courtesy of Apple, I've seen literally every episode except for the finale, and I've got to say the special effects are on point. And again, there's certain shows out there that don't do them very well, but Apple do them spot on every time. And there's another show that did him spot on, which was The Expanse, which I've got to say, such a great show. How does working on Invasion compare to The Expanse? Is it a completely different experience?
Also, I love that the two people that you've interviewed are Vanessa and Samer, who are my former wife and husband. Yeah, watch the show if you don't know. It's going to make sense. I like the really great thing about those two projects was coming in a little bit later and already having like a Bible of information on how the world works. Because like as actors, we are little anthropologists. It's our job to look at the source material for the show. And like the nice thing about The Expanse was it was an incredibly popular book series, and so there was already details and stuff to pull from, but you get to learn the rules and the regulations of the world, and so you're coming in with a wealth of knowledge that you don't have to create on your own. And so I think like the approach to the shows had two like similar tracks in making sure that you were aligned with the story that you were about to tell. In The Expanse, they brought us in for zero gravity training on how to move our bodies on camera as if we were in a zero gravity environment, the do's and the don'ts, the things that like break it and the things that make it. We also had to do the Belter dialect, and so we had many lessons of dialect training, which was, I mean, I know you already know this, but I'm just saying it in case somebody's listening who doesn't, but it was like an amalgamation of 6 different languages that doesn't exist. And it's like getting to like sink your teeth into those things as an actor was such a gift, because you learn what's there, you know the box that you're playing within, and then you make it your own. So in The Expanse, I have a Eastern European background. I made my dialect sound slightly more Russian, because in my body and in my mouth that became more authentic, and then in the genealogy of the show, my ancestors probably would have been shipped from there into space, whereas like Samer had more of an Arabic flair. Whereas going into Invasion, I think like the similar track part was just learning how to carry your body on camera with proficiency, especially when you're playing someone who's in a special forces unit. You're like in the top tier of your field, and so like knowing when your arm is chicken winging versus like actually staying in tight so it doesn't get clipped, how to do-si-do with your partner if you're firing, that there's always consistent gunfire. And like these are things that I wouldn't have known ahead of time unless they had set us up for like the amount of weapons training which they did. And like it just benefits everybody else on the day, because all of a sudden you have more room to improvise. You know the rules of what you need to do, you know how to keep low, you know how to like scope an area and like move and cover, so that when you're going into a blocking scenario, you have a wealth of knowledge to offer something instead of just kind of waiting around for somebody to tell you to do something. So it gives you so much more agency. So I think like both shows really prepared us for the day, because I think by the time you're there in the day, you don't want to be learning how, like, I remember Breck Eisner, who's directed many episodes of The Expanse. He brought us in early just to sit in the spacecraft chairs so that we could unbuckle and buckle, unbuckle and buckle, because he wanted everything to be second nature. And since then, I have like adopted that into my practices with other projects that I've been a part of, because in that person's world, that is second nature. You're getting in and out all the time. And the more you do those things, the more an audience responds, or the more an audience believes you as the thing that you're portraying.
I mean, a funny story about The Expanse. I got nipped right at the last second. I nearly actually purchased your outfit from the show, as well as Vanessa's and Sama Salim's spacesuit. It went on for auction for Prop Store. Yeah, and I just thought it was a trifecta. It was like the trinity of costumes. And I just got beat at the post, like literally by dollars. And I was so gutted, because I collect film props, and that show for me is just fantastic. I mean, I've got a Rosinante behind me that you can't.
Oh yeah, you do.
Just there. Yeah. Where my finger is. Yeah. And and did you get anything from that show? Did you manage to take anything?
Did I take? They gave us incredible rap gifts. They gave us for season 5. They gave us a moon speaker, and like a Bluetooth speaker, and I have taken that with me. There was also a Rocinante engraved Scotch
glass,
the decanter,
and the glasses. Yeah. Like, Wes Chatham, who I had on the show, he was going through all the gifts that he had, and he had them with him, and they look awesome.
I don't think I have mine here. I'm not currently at home, but the I think another thing from that show, which was another rarity, and I think it's this idea of like when you are with a group of people who are having shared experiences, because so often as actors you kind of have like a 1-2 track with another person where you're going through the arc of your two relationship, and then everything else is kind of separate. That show, we were a polycule, and so everything that we were going through together, and the those people have also become some of my closest friends. Like I'm going to be going to New York in a couple days, and I'm going to go stay with Sandrine Holt, who played Oksana, and she's become one of my dearest friends. And same with Kara G. She was pregnant when we were shooting, and I remember in the finale I had to throw her up against a wall, and we were fighting for a gun, and she was like 7 months pregnant, and I remember like we were trying to like rehearse the stunt and stuff, and the stunt guy was like, hit her harder, and I'm like, she's pregnant, and it was like such a mind-boggling experience to go around, because every instinct within you is like, don't touch this human being. But then since then, you know, she's had her child, and she's beautiful, and I've gotten to remain as a space husband, space uncle now.
Do you think we'll ever get another season of The Expanse? Because it ended a bit sort of, you know, I don't know. It wasn't wishy-washy. I mean, but it was like left wanting more, and I want more.
I mean, that's fair. That's fair. I mean, you also have more, there's more books, there's more story to tell. I mean, I wouldn't put it past, like, that show has such diehard fans that I wouldn't put it past someone who gets an executive position at some production company, some studio, who then goes, we are going to be reviving this baby. Like, I heard recently that there might be another video game iteration coming out for The Expanse.
I've heard that as well. Yeah. Because it did so well. The first one did amazing.
And so there's the possibility of that. But I think what's so brilliant about sci-fi, and this goes for Invasion and The Expanse, is that it's always more, even if it's set in the future, is always more reflective of our real world. Like the characters that you see on screen, the issues that they're dealing with, they're always like allegories for things that are currently happening politically in our world, and it has such a greater, I think, emotional impact because it's tackling issues that people might not necessarily be ready to receive if it was just in a 2025 format. And because of that, I wouldn't be surprised if somebody did end up picking up The Expanse. It has so much to say, and it's so thoughtful and Shakespearean at the same time. And that the creators of that are some of the nicest people that you could ever meet.
So fingers crossed. But a few more questions before we bid farewell. Quickly, if aliens really did invade tomorrow, Stephen, what is the first thing that you would do?
I mean, I guess that has to be a twofold response. Like, if the aliens were here to be like, hey, we're going to be dropping some knowledge. You guys are great. We're just going to help you a little bit. Like, if we're like moving into some collective whatever, I think I would be, I think I want to learn more, you know? I think like the curiosity might get the better of me. But if they were like, they're here, they're harvesting us, get ready, I think I would just live it up. I would go, I'm giving myself 3 days and I'm going to go hard. I'm just going to go out with a bang because I don't need to be, I'll just figure out what happens in the next life. I don't need to wait to be poked and prodded, if that's a thing.
But you've got so many beautiful places in Canada. You know what I mean? That you can go and hide away in like a shack. For me, I don't think we'll ever get invaded by aliens because personally, I think aliens will never come here properly because we're so primitive. It's unbelievable. I mean, can you imagine this like sort of sentient being looking down on the earth and seeing these bunch of orangutans just literally just fighting amongst each other, falling out. You know, there's so many disagreements, so many, you know, hurtful things happening. They're probably just going to leave it to us because, you know, we're beyond them. They haven't got the, you know, the crayons to explain to us, you know, life and what's going on.
Yeah, or the amount of people doing TikTok dances instead of helping others have food to eat on their table. Like their priorities are skewed. They're not a moral species. You know,
you completely you've hit the nail on the head, as it says. I mean, who has been your biggest inspiration in your life, in your career?
In my career, I know this is probably such a stereotypical answer, but I think we don't give credit enough to teachers for the roles that they play in our lives. They have an ability to see, and I'm speaking from experience, they have an ability to see students in a less subjective way and can pull out qualities and skills and potential paths that I don't think you don't always get with parents, because parents have the ideas and goals and dreams, and sometimes parents have like dreams and goals that they had that they imprint onto their kids. And I remember I was going to like a French immersion Catholic school. Not my favorite, but I was really big into drawing, and like I said before, I was really, really shy. And Madame Willman, shout out to her, I think I was drawing a picture of the Titanic. How do you tell someone you're on the spectrum without telling someone you're on the spectrum? But she just noticed something in my abilities, and she went to my parents and she put together a portfolio for me, and she submitted me to an all arts school, and I got in. And when I was there, somebody approached me to be in a play. And then from being in that play, I got to go to the National Theatre School. I got an agent from the National Theatre School. I started booking TV shows from there, and it just kind of became a cascade effect because one person was like, you could be doing this. And it's not like I was seeking those opportunities. They just kind of like happened to happen. And so I gotta give it up that like the ability to see something in someone and help them flourish.
Do you ever wonder, though? Do you ever wonder if that never happened, that she never did that for you, where you'd be now?
I think I would be a recluse. I think I would be like a horse trainer somewhere. You know what? Maybe I would be the proper version of like a post-apocalyptic alien invaded man living up in northern Canada, like raising horses for transportation. But I feel like I would be on a farm somewhere away from people. Like that my inner, my childhood most self was just so terrified of interactions with other human beings. So I think it would have been.
And look at you now, in so many great shows, and I'm sure that you're a social butterfly for all occasions. And in theatre school, what was your favourite show that you did?
Midsummer Night's Dream. I got to play Bottom, and walking around the stage, acting like you're a good actor when you're not a good actor is, I think, every actor's dream.
And did you do any musicals when you was at theatre school?
We didn't do any musicals in theater school, but we did do musicals in high school. Like My Fair Lady, Annie. I remember my very first musical role in my high school was the ventriloquist in Annie, and we had a kid playing the puppet, and the local news station wanted to get interviews from people with the cast, and they heard that there was a ventriloquist, which was just me holding my hand behind another kid's back, and they brought us on TV, not realizing that it was just two people. And they were like, do your act. And so the kid just spoke, and I just stood there.
Do you know what? You've ruined it for ventriloquists nationwide, worldwide. The secret is out. It's actually a real person on their lap.
Yeah. Magician never reveals their secrets. Neither should ventriloquists. God, what am I doing? What am I doing here? Just revealing all the... that's the real spoiler that people were hoping for from this conversation.
And yeah. And, you mentioned that obviously you finished working on Invasion August last year, and then you're doing a lot of more things since then. I've noticed that you're starring in a film, I think it is, with someone that I've had on my show a couple of times, Sydney Cuney, who is absolutely adorable, from Sky Med. Is there anything that you can tease that's coming out soon, or is it still all a bit hush-hush?
That one's a bit hush-hush, but very, very lovely human being, and she is just she's just like a warm breeze to be around. But there's also like very funny things that happen in that one. But it's just one of those things that you can't say. You can't say until it exists, because there's so many rules and regulations and other people's...
I know, you've got to be quiet, and there's so many things like NDAs that just ruin it for everyone. But I'm sure that when that comes out, I've seen the storyline of it, and it sounds a wonderful story. So I can't wait for that to come out. One last thing. If you, Stephen, had a book, a biography about your life, what title would it have?
The first thing that comes to my mind is Sweaty Hands. And I feel like it's probably a metaphor, not only for hyperhidrosis, but for the idea that I think it's probably along the lines of like, fake it till you make it. Because truthfully, nobody knows what they're doing, right?
No.
Like I know you do this all the time, and I know you've interviewed so many incredible people, but I'm sure there's things in this conversation that you've just done that you're like, I didn't know that I was going to ask that, or I didn't know how this was going to go. And you kind of just power through it, and then you go, okay, that worked, or that didn't work, you know?
I'm literally, that is my life. Imposter syndrome, massively. And I do what I do because I enjoy speaking to wonderful people like yourself that when I see you on TV and in shows, I can annoy my wife and say, I've interviewed him. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
She hates it.
Yeah. What's yours? What's your title?
Mine would be, well, it would be probably The Real Life of Bryan, but I don't know. Escape.
I know that guy.
Yeah, the Escape in the Madness, I think. Because I think that personally, I think that I'm a massive advocate for mental awareness. I think that a lot of people, you know, when you say to someone, how are you? And they're like, yeah, I'm fine. Secretly, they're not. Do you know what I mean? And we're all dealing with a lot of things, but it's not about the problem. It's about how you deal with it. And I've got to say, one of the things that we don't have in the UK, I mean, we don't go to therapists. I don't know what it's like in Canada, but in America, they do. And it's a bit like someone explained to me, you go to the gym to keep your body healthy. So why don't you go to the therapist to keep your mind healthy? And we don't do that in the UK. And being a man, even though I'm quite a modern man, we are told to keep it together and to not show weakness. Even though Steve and I cry at so many films. I mean, I watched Superman and I cried my eyes out, and I'm not ashamed of it. But yeah. Mine would be Escaping the Madness. But yeah.
But that's so important to say. I think especially like as men, just give permission to each other to like allow vulnerability to be in. And I actually have this conversation with people all the time, and there's obviously so much work still to be done for how we can like bring women up. But one thing I will commend them is that we always see commercials saying like, girls, you can do anything a boy can do, which is so true and positive. But we rarely have commercials being like, boys, you can do anything a girl can do. Like, and go like, it's also a two-way street. And I think giving that permission for vulnerability is real strength. And that's why that's why we watch things. This is how we build empathy. You learn things from another person, from another set of experiences that aren't your own, and that draws a bridge of connection. You watch someone from the Midwest watches Moonlight, and they may not know anyone who identifies as Black and then queer. And then all of a sudden you're seeing a nuanced relationship and a connection of love, and it bridges a greater understanding of humanity. And we realize that there's actually not many things that are separating us, that we're actually more alike than we think, that almost every culture sits down and has a meal together. How they eat that meal, whether they're on chairs, what they use to eat, are different, but the concept of gathering together is universal, and I feel like we don't look enough at our similarities. I don't know how I got there, but I did.
Beautifully spoken there, and I completely agree. The world needs to change in so many ways, and I think the key is, especially with my girls, I've said it many, many times, I'm bringing them up with no hate, with no discrimination, just love and happiness, and just to be supportive. And that's how it should be. But Stephen, thank you so much for coming on to the show. It's been an absolute pleasure. I can't wait for everyone to watch Invasion. It's one of these shows, along with Foundation, that Apple do such a great job in actually making, and it's just amazing. It really, really is. But I'd love to have you back on the show again in the future for your future projects.
Yeah, I would love to be here. And like, I'm so sorry that you didn't get my sweaty spacesuit.